Good evening. We're into that session of the meeting whereby we've got the maximum 25 minutes where members of the public can ask questions and make short statements to the council if anybody has anything to say.
Yeah. Firstly, as we've got two district councillors here, I think it's called, I don't know, the white building down Park Road, which was formerly Limins, which I understand is South Holland District Council's now. I don't know whether either of you two have looked at it, but I think we should have a sweepstake as when the wall's going to fall out, because it's looking rather rough, and I think it needs something doing rather urgently for health and safety reasons.
Okay, so we need to work out who the owner is.
The owner is apparently South Holland District Council, and they're not replying under freedom of information because I understand 2 years previously South Holland District Council was renting it to stand empty. I don't know whether District Council would like to make any comments.
Yeah.
Can I clarify which one you mean? Do you mean the white one just up from the hub on Boston Road?
No, Park Road.
Park Road.
Park Road, almost opposite the doctor's surgery.
Right.
Oh,
Living warehouse. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Living
Okay.
warehouse.
Okay. And you've asked on freedom and got no information, yeah?
Correct.
Okay. I will.
They're not very forthcoming on a lot of things.
Okay. I will find out further info and I will let you know on it, Paul. All right.
Well, the main point about it is we don't want it falling on somebody's car when they park it there.
We absolutely don't, but it may be that something's underway with it, but I will make sure I find out about it and feedback via the chat.
Thank you.
Okay.
The buildings behind that are leased out, aren't they? There was a car business, I think, there that was doing some internal body work.
Yeah, there's a variety of businesses.
I thought it was purchased to become the new doctor's surgery. I believe, wasn't it? It was an after the press release, wasn't it?
The location was not confirmed,
Oh.
but that is the understanding I have, yes.
Okay.
Right.
It is, yes.
Following on now onto Friday night's meeting, when the doctor's surgery was being mentioned in Chequers Yard, I don't know how much the local our parish councillors know much about this, but a lot of people don't know much about it, and they keep talking about a doctor's surgery. Could our district councillors, as this is being, I know once only new, going forward, is this for a new doctor to come to the town, or both doctors to move in, or one doctor to move, or what is it?
I think it's fair to say it's too early at this moment in time to be saying anything, but as soon as there is further to say, then certainly it will be forthcoming in giving that information.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Are you happy with that?
Not really. Not really, because I can't see the point in going in Chequers Yard. You know, the better place for it is where the Aldi store's going to go, or is it Lidl, on Fleet Road, because it's on the bus route. You know, and you've got to consider, will people be able to afford cars, and if older people can't drive, how do they get to the place?
We don't know what stage it's at yet. I guess when we get more information, we can start to actively question any ideas or thoughts.
Well, personally, I would have thought if this is happening in Holbeach, and this is Holbeach Parish Council, which is responsible for the town, the District Council would be in fully collusion and discussing what the people want.
Indeed. Yes.
I fully agree with you, Mr. Park.
Good
It
heavens.
makes a change, doesn't it? I do not understand why something could be put in the press and that's the first that we as Parish Council know about it, which it was a while ago.
Yeah, I mean, I made my statement when that press article came out. I don't think it's a suitable location. I agree with you, the Aldi site was much better located. It's a larger site as well for expanding. I'm not aware of what stage it's at, what's happening, anything, to be honest, apart from what was in the press. But I do think that local people should be consulted when the time comes as to big infrastructure plans like that.
And I think that's the key, it's when the time comes. In regards to location of site, obviously the Aldi site is no longer in South Holland District Council's ownership, and actually that's further out of town. So if we're talking about people being able to access and drive, I think you've got challenges there as well. But obviously also, you know, this site at this moment is just purely in conversation, and hopefully it comes to fruition, and as and when there is further, as I've said, absolutely there will be as much information as possible forthcoming, and where possible, obviously as much consultation as possible.
Tracy, am I right in thinking then that no decision will be made without full consultation? That the district aren't going to go away and do something without...
The reality is, this is obviously district working with NHS, working with other councils, absolutely. So, you know, a decision cannot just be made like that, because obviously it involves many other parties in it. So, yeah.
And timescales, anything on timescales?
Not at this stage, I'm afraid. No, sorry.
Well, Mr Chairman, wouldn't it have been more sense to consult before you purchased? Because if they decide we do not want a doctor's surgery there, what are you going to do with the derelict building?
I would find it very hard to believe that a town that's been pushing for a doctor's surgery wouldn't actually welcome a doctor's surgery to come in to that site. So, be it whatever site, to be honest with you.
I think there needs
So-
to be more debate when we know a little bit more. I'm not defending anybody here, but personally I don't have enough information to make an informed decision on this yet.
Absolutely.
So from what you just said, it's actually a new...
Yeah.
From what you just said, Councillor Carter, it's a new surgery going to come in then?
I think you will interpret as you choose to do so from just a very brief statement. So I don't think from that you could take whether it's new, amended or any other site, but bearing in mind it's obviously an older building, then the word new would obviously be mentioned within it, because you've mentioned the state of the building itself already, haven't you? So obviously it would involve quite considerable work and cost to be involved, which involves a great deal of conversation, which is why it's ongoing. What is actually a really positive thing is the position that we are now in. It's a much further down the road. We all know of multiple conversations of sites that have gone in regards to doctor's surgeries, and actually they've not come to fruition. But this is moving forwards. It's not under a portfolio I look after. So equally, I wouldn't be in those first point of conversations within that. But essentially, of course, we know the site. We also all know that there will be a considerable amount of work that would actually need to take place on that. So if you want to interpret that as new, then absolutely, please do, Paul.
So,
I think what Mr Poll was meaning by new was whether it's going to be additional services to the ones we've already got.
I absolutely understood that.
And I think we would all support additional services. It's just based on the information that has been wended its way round of combining existing services or replacing existing services is probably not something that I personally would support. But any additional services, of course, in the right location, I fully support.
Absolutely. I think it would be very silly to look at a new site just to actually replicate what's already there. I think the key is that we are needing more services here. So that's the plan of action, to hopefully develop additional services. So.
okay. All right, thank you. Any further questions on that topic?
I want to make one point.
Yes, please.
You say additional services. Park Road surgery used to have 4 to 5 doctors. It's now got 2 to 3. So before you look for additional services, I would suggest we look at some doctors to man.
I think there's also a misconception about doctor surgeries. Actually, they own them. They run them themselves, the actual doctors. So it's not a case that actually council would intervene in a doctor's surgery, or actually a lot of the time NHS either. The doctors themselves own them, and I think it's the wrong term to say business, but it's their going concern there themselves. So there is a point where they are in control of the doctors that they have. Absolutely, I think across the board. There needs to be a huge drive in regards to nurses, doctors, all levels. And absolutely, I know Kings Lynn have brought in training and brought in a site specifically for medical training, which is going to bring through more nurses. But absolutely, skills, all of that is very highly on the agenda in an awful lot of fields, not just medical.
Yeah, because you've got Littlebury, which is it's further away than the Aberdeen side, down Bandy,
Yeah.
which is part of the If I remember rightly, Cambridgeshire. Oh,
No,
No,
not the Cambridgeshire,
no.
guarantee that.
Sorry, can we just,
or Peter, I thought you come under Peter.
can we just let Paul?
Stand corrected.
Paul?
Yes, Councillor Carter, you did say that you're not the portfolio holder for this development or what?
Yeah.
Who is, please?
This falls under Nick's portfolio.
So as leader of the council, he's still dealing with this?
He still has a portfolio, absolutely, which this sits under, correct.
It's very interesting when you've got the hospital in Holbeach, the Parish
Absolutely.
hospital and that sort of thing, with a site there that's been threatened with closure on numerous occasions.
Well, as a
In the past,
trustee, yeah,
yes.
absolutely.
Yes, in the past it has, and you then start thinking, there's a site there, there's possibilities of other services and all that sort of thing. Is there a possibility of combining it this side of the A17 rather than the other side?
I would say not, as a trustee of that site. Obviously, we have 41 beds there now. We've done the extension there. We obviously have vacancies at times when obviously someone moves on or moves back home. So we have reablement beds there. We've recently had the county council done active recovery beds to support social services, basically. So during the winter months, we've done active recovery beds, and the council commissioned, I think, 50 beds across the county, south, all areas. So we had 10 at Holbeach Hospital there. So that actually scheme worked extremely well, and we extended that and actually commissioned it for further time.
It's just the fact that recently I had to go to Market Deeping because my local surgery couldn't provide the services that I needed.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went there, they had a very splendid sort of set of suite of rooms, surgeries, minor operations and that sort of thing. And you start thinking, okay, that wasn't in the town centre, that was outside of the town centre. People got to it, it's been well used. If I had to go all the way from Holbeach to Market Deeping, then I'm sure that somebody can go from the middle of Holbeach to somewhere very, very locally.
Yeah.
So that's what I was just saying about the sites. I mean, obviously, you're not the portfolio holder of that, but it's just the fact that it sits there and you think, can't something be done with that area, even if it was
Well,
extra?
like I say, I mean, Holbeach Hospital itself is its own entity.
Yeah.
It's owned by the community. There's a management trustee there. You know, in conversations I have there, we always look to the future, to future-proof it and everything like that. But I don't think that is the right option. I don't think that Holbeach Hospital would be interested in that either, if I'm perfectly honest. They are a very different area to themselves in regards to their market and what they're aiming to achieve. So.
Okay, so, excuse me for cutting in, so we've got 10 to 7, so we now allow 10 minutes for next